Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is November 16th, 2019, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Louisiana gubernatorial election that is being held tonight. So it should be pretty interesting. We have Governor John Bel Edwards, a Democrat incumbent from the state of Louisiana, first elected back in 2015, versus Eddie Rispone, a businessman, Republican candidate. So if you remember, I made a video discussing Louisiana before. There was an election in October. It was a jungle, election type system, a jungle primary. Most of the time leads off into a runoff, but pretty much it landed up with the top two candidates being John Bel Edwards and Eddie Rispone. Now, I actually have the results here from the jungle primary, so you can pretty much see they did preliminary polling data, and it was pretty much between these top three candidates, John Bel Edwards, Ralph Abraham, and Eddie Rispone, and pretty much it ended up being a close race for the Republicans between those two candidates, and obviously the incumbent Democrat took a very large portion of the vote. Now, he got 47 rounded percent of the vote, and to be completely honest, that's not the worst place he could be in. Going back to 2015, if you take a look at the governor election for the jungle primary, John Bel Edwards only got 40% of the vote last time. Also, if you take a look at the total votes, turnout is just a tad bit up from 2015, about 200,000 votes, which at the end of the day can really make a difference on the election. But pretty much, if we take a look, John Bel Edwards was at a worse spot before. If you take a look at 2015, you can add up all of the Democratic voters and compare it to all the Republican voters, and the Republicans win by a lot more than if you had done the same exact thing in this election. Now, of course, if you take a look at John Bel Edwards' approval rating, right now it's 52% compared to a 31% disapproval rating based off the morning consult, the 16% refusing to answer or do not know. But John Bel Edwards getting 52% approval as a Democrat in one of the, more solid Republican states in the South, it really shows something about his, policies, a way that the people approve of him here. And it is pretty interesting seeing a Democrat this popular down in the South, because if you look at some of these other Democrats, Delaware, we have a Democrat in Delaware, we have a Democrat in other places that are pretty popular, just pretty popular nationwide, but pretty much taking a look at what we saw back in the jungle primary, it's still going to be a little bit hard for John Bel Edwards. He really needed a good showing of 48-49% in this election for it to be considered in his favor. Now, anything can really happen. If you take a look at previous turnout back in 2015 and previous elections, minority turnout tends to show up more when you get down to the actual election. And today is not going to be a work day for a number of people, and it will end up being the election. Now, it's pretty interesting that they don't hold on a Tuesday. I'm not so sure why. They didn't coincide with the Kentucky or Mississippi elections, but this Louisiana election is being held literally tonight. So I don't think I'll be live streaming it, but it will be pretty much broadcasted everywhere. This election has become very national. The president has visited here a couple of times. He actually was in the state of Louisiana yesterday going to support Eddie Rispone. In fact, on this page, it shows a little timeline of when certain things were held. I'll discuss endorsements in just a second as well, but I just want to see you down here. I was watching a number of these ads. They're actually very, very vicious. These ads are definitely out to get one another. There's no niceness about them whatsoever. I mean, it is politics. But, okay, so timeline here. November 14th, 2019, President Donald Trump held a rally in, Bossier City in support of Rispone, the Republican, the RNC. Spent an additional $1 million towards the race in the Get Out the Vote efforts, bringing its total to $2 million. Sabato Crystal Ball changed the rating from toss-up to lean Democratic. So Donald Trump is definitely doing a last-minute push here, as he did for Governor Matt Bevin back in the state of Kentucky. Obviously, did not turn out too well, but the numbers were definitely a lot closer than people were expecting based off of polling data. Now, we haven't seen too much activity in terms of polls for this state itself. We've seen a couple from October, about 3, when we really should be seeing a little bit more than that. This election is actually that important. Keep in mind, it's probably the last big, nationally focused election before the 2020 election. So this will be the last pit stop for Democrats to say, hey, we're pushing back against the president, or, the Republicans winning in the state of Louisiana. But to be completely honest, Louisiana does not matter too much for Democrats on the national level. They're not winning any Senate elections here. They're not gaining any more House seats than they already have. And this governor election is probably just the last time for them to say, hey, a Democrat can win a statewide election. And if it's a pretty large margin, they could say that President Trump may not have had too much of an impact as he thought he did. But this RCP average shows Governor John Bel Edwards ahead by a mere 1%. Now, with his approval rating, he is a popular governor, but these numbers aren't necessarily reflecting it. Now, I get it. A lot of the state and country itself very divided in terms of political party. A lot of Republicans will refuse to vote for Democrats regardless of how good they are for their personal interests, and vice versa for Democrats not voting for Republicans in certain areas. But at the same time, he's still holding off pretty well. If you go to 2016 in the presidential election, Hillary Clinton got absolutely destroyed in this race. I have to go ahead and open it here. But Hillary Clinton did not do well here at all. She lost by 19.7%. That's almost 20%. Keep in mind, her husband won the state of Louisiana 2 times in 1992 and 1996. 1996 was a pretty large margin. And if you look, McCain won here by 18.7%, Romney by 17.2%. So actually, the state of Louisiana ended up being worse for Hillary Clinton than you might expect. And also, especially since she was able to tap into African-American voters, well, it didn't seem to show too much for her when it came down to it. So John Bel Edwards is at a pretty good position right now. I mean, it could be a lot worse. We could see huge support for the Republican after President Trump coming in here. They definitely need to do some last-minute polling or release the data if they've already done it, but they probably haven't, to be completely honest. It's probably something that they're not focusing on too much. Probably just going to let the election out play today. So talking about endorsements, as I mentioned before, if you go ahead and take a look, there are some notable Republican endorsements for John Bel Edwards, and that is also pretty surprising to me. May not be surprising to you if you live in Louisiana and you know that John Bel Edwards is considered bipartisan by many people, thus his approval rating in a predominantly Republican state. But John Bel Edwards isn't endorsed by John Alario, I'm assuming, and Dan Moorish, 2 state senators from the Republican Party, and the state Senate president, so I guess the highest top Republican or top official in the Louisiana State Senate. But of course, Donald Trump and Mike Pence endorse Eddie Rispone, former candidate Ralph Abraham, so the candidate that was pretty much polling neck and neck with Rispone endorsed him as well. And we have 3 newspapers and editorials that endorse John Bel Edwards and 1 for Rispone. But again, those don't really have too much of an impact in today's day and age. And Ballotopedia also shows some of the polling results. Again, John Bel Edwards has pretty much led in every single poll except for 1 being a tie. But again, things definitely can change. There's a little bit more data actually here on Wikipedia, but again, this may not be too accurate. If you look, there's a lot of R's by the names, and I think there's a D down here. Yeah, D. So yeah, but pretty much taking a look, it looks like John Bel Edwards may actually be doing well in terms of polling data. But if you look back, a lot of these were held way back in 2018. And leading into 2019, the numbers rapidly went up for Eddie Rispone. People started to realize who he was because a lot of people were undecided. If you look here, there's no way a Republican's getting 19% of the vote, or 39%, or 33%, or 29%. And as the name goes up, and as there's more recognition towards him, Eddie Rispone is actually polling a little bit better. So to be completely honest, this is a pure toss-up election. Now, I'm going to tell you who I believe will narrowly edge out this race at the end of this video. But if you take a look, it looks like Republicans are definitely trying to pour last-minute efforts in here, especially after a Kentucky defeat. President Trump is definitely going to be bending a lot on this race itself. There aren't too many endorsements for John Bel Edwards nationwide. We don't see that many notable Democrats except for Stacey Abrams. But again, a lot of Democrats want to avoid nationalizing this race because if he gets an endorsement from people like Nancy Pelosi, Hillary Clinton, Elizabeth Warren, that's really going to end up hurting him. If you take a look at the electorate there, because a lot of these political ads in opposition to John Bel Edwards are pretty much pro-Trump and show that John Bel Edwards endorsed Hillary Clinton back in 2016 and how that's negative because it shows that he endorsed her deplorable comment, whatever. It makes the voters seem alienated by John Bel Edwards. So the Democrats definitely don't want to nationalize this, but the Republicans definitely do. Considering Trump's popularity in the state, it definitely makes sense to do so. So taking a look at how I think this election would finalize out, fundraising's been pretty solid for both candidates. No real telling sign here. Obviously, there's a little bit more support from super PACs on the Republican side, not necessarily super PACs, just outside money. I was going to discuss some points in here, but I guess it just limited my free articles. If any of you guys know a way around that, please comment that down below. But back to my original point, I pretty much covered everything I wanted to anyway. I do think that this will narrowly end out in a John Bel Edwards victory, very narrowly. I think that there will be a little bit more support for him than we saw in the jungle primary. But again, this election can really go back and forth. A week ago, I guess I would have said Eddie Risponi was going to win, but with these last-minute efforts by the president, it definitely seems like the Republicans know that they're underwater in this state. And if you take a look, I think that his approval rating and sudden support from voters that may not have voted in the jungle primary may go ahead and come out and vote here. But again, I could be wrong. I'm not saying I haven't been wrong before, but I'm just going to say for right now, as of the election day, I believe John Bel Edwards will narrowly edge out a victory here. So thank you guys for watching this video. Comment down suggestions below, and I'll see you all tomorrow.